On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, every time you walk into a new NHL season, there's always teams or players that you got some beef with. So today we will ask the question, where's the beef? On a new episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. And make sure you're subscribed to our subtext as well. Link to that's in the show notes below. And when you do, you chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. We get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast, like we will do here momentarily. If you're watching over on YouTube, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can see we're wearing our Star Wars stuff today. And we will be just giving a little homage to the one and only James Earl Jones. Of course, you've probably heard that he has passed away, which is it's just sad news all around for more than outside of Star Wars fans, obviously. So it's just
we will get to him and give him his due time.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that. Talk some PWHL. They came out with their new logos, their new team nicknames. Do we like them? Who do we like the most? And any possibility they come to Colorado? And if they do, what could their nickname be? We'll talk about that. But where we're going to start is, like we said in the opening, every time you go into a new season, there's things that happen in the year before that you hold a grudge and you take it with you into the next season. And that can be a full team. That can be individual players. Could be refs if they did you wrong. But you always remember, and maybe this is more fan service than players, or at least players won't lead on that much that they're carrying this anger over into the next season. But it's always fun, like when you have that matchup from a fan perspective of, oh, this is the guy, or this is the team that I want to get back at because of what they did last year.
And honestly, for Avalanche fans, it's a good way to honestly resettle yourself, because as Avalanche fans, you're always going to carry that rivalry with Minnesota, the rivalry with Detroit, but you also want to be real. Like, It's been a decade for the Minnesota thing, about 20 years for the Detroit thing. It really doesn't carry a lot of weight other than personal hatred. Going into this season, it's going to be a little bit different. The Avalanche are in a different spot. They're not, it's been a while since they won the Stanley Cup, and they're trying to get their self back to that level. And you have the Hart and the Ted Lindsay winner on your team. So there's a different mission for this team this year, and it's not the big sexy Avs, especially in the Central, when Nashville's stealing headlines with how they're comprising the team, and Dallas is the team that put you out. So there's a lot of different things and beefs when it comes to who the Avalanche really need to settle the score with when it comes to this upcoming season.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you have like those baked in rivalries and stuff like that, which are always fun when those come around. And you mentioned Minnesota, obviously. Those are always going to be there, and that's part of rivalries and division rivalries. Like, those don't go anywhere. But is there any like new ones that maybe kind of came, like were unearthed last year, or taken into this year, that are kind of sticking out in your head of can't wait to play that guy or can't wait to play that team?
Well, number one clearly is going to be, I'm excited, and there could be a beef with the cool, sexy team in the Central when it comes to Nashville. I want to see how this Colorado Avalanche team stacks up to Nashville. And with all the loud offseason, Nashville is finally coming into their own. This could be the best team they've ever put on the ice. All this, yada, yada, yada. I would like to see the two teams go up against each other and settle who actually controls the Central.
Yeah, it's almost like Nashville's coming in here and they haven't paid their dues to get here. It's just like, and it's not any of their fault. I'm not saying they were in a position to do what they did and they did it, but it's just like, you haven't put in your time, bro. Like we're us in Dallas, like we've been at the top here for a little while, and you want to come to our party? Put in the work first. But hey, like I think you're right in that. Like you want to see where both these guys stack up. You want to see if Nashville's ready to play with the big boys of the Central, and if you want to see if the teams that have been there for the past handful of years are ready for what Nashville wants to do and impose their will on the division. So I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, the Nashville one, it stings. It's like a little bit weird. Like they come out of nowhere. And when we were going into last season, we were ranking teams on who's really a threat in the Central. Nashville's really not anywhere on there. Even with that streak at the end, it didn't feel sustainable. So with a couple moves, now they're the big number one, the Central. Prove it first.
Yeah. I said, to start this, it doesn't have to be in the Central, but this my answer here would have been, no matter who knocked the Avalanche out, and it just so happens to be a Central Division rival. But the year before it was Seattle. They knocked you out, so that's what you carried into next year. I think that's always the case too, right? Whoever knocks you out, whoever ends your season, you look forward to them next year. It's not saying that rights that wrong. They still have the bragging rights over you because they sent you home for the year. But it is nice to the first time you meet up with them, at least because that last year's gone. You're into a brand new year, and the most recent game we got the best of you, and you kind of build off of that. So definitely looking forward to the first Dallas game, and with that, obviously comes the Matt Duchene angle because not only is he still playing with them, but Dallas sent you home. He was the one to do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's twofold for Dallas.
And it's funny you bring up the Nashville thing as the Dallas matchup as a big burning, like they knocked you out. I feel like there's a bigger beef between, and I'm really excited to see part 2 of, I want to see Winnipeg again. Because at the end of the regular season, going into the playoffs, Winnipeg absolutely embarrassed this Avalanche team, and they shelled both goalies. Like the Avalanche looked lifeless out there, and there was a cause for concern on what this series was going to look like. And going into the Winnipeg series, that first game, all-time classic, and then the rest of the series kind of calmed down a little bit. But we talked about how you're looking forward to Dallas. Winnipeg's looking forward to playing Colorado.
Sure.
And it's going to be an exciting little matchup. Like in the regular season, Winnipeg looked great. In the playoffs, they just weren't there. They weren't ready. But this offseason, they are building this team to beat Colorado. I'm interested to see how that comes back in this next season.
Agree with you there. And then another team that I have on here, and it's, nothing. This is more personal in terms of like, hey, you won everything. How we just said they want to stack up, Nashville coming in, how they want to stack up. You want to get back at the team that ended your season. You want to see how you stack up against the team that won it all.
Yeah.
And I don't have a personal beef with Florida, but that is the team that's got the target on their back right now. So and the past few years, the games between the Avalanche and the Panthers have been wonderful games.
Yes, they have.
Great games. Almost to the effect of like, man, wish you just played them more than twice.
Yeah.
But so I am looking forward to that one as well. Just for no other reason than they are the champions, and you like taking that team down, even if it's game number 37 in the regular season. You know what I mean? They will have that title until someone unseats them, and they're going to lose many games this year. But when you don't play them that often, and you want that to be a good game and bring your A game, because they're going to be ready for every single game this year, because they have to be, because they want to repeat. Everyone's going to be gunning for them. It's just the nature of the beast when you win it all. And I want to see the Avs go up against them and bring their A game as well. So that's another team that I got on my list.
My last one I'm looking forward to seeing one more time.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see the Colorado Avalanche put the Tampa Bay Lightning and close their window completely. The Kucherov McKinnon race, I want to see it. I want to see that Kucherov McKinnon race. I want to see what comes from that, if there's any anger there. And honestly, Cooper at number 1. In our last episode, we were talking about him being the number 1 coach.
Yeah.
That just kind of all put to bed the last little remnants of the cup. I want to see that away. I want to see it all put away, and then wash your hands and find something else to fight about.
It's always a good one too. Yeah, and I like those. I like when you have like a beef with the other conference.
Yeah,
because you're going to have your division ones, you're going to have your conference ones. Getting on the other side of the other conference is always nice to have those as well because they're rare. They're rare. So, all right, let's get our first break in. We come back. I want to get some subtext input on this, and then we'll discuss some PWHL stuff. So we're going to do that right after this. All right, let's hear from FanDuel, and let's get right to it because this is our last FanDuel read for the week. So Kyle and I have been picking one game each, and then we both pick the Broncos game. Last week, we both went 1-1. So who do you got for this week? Who's your one non-Broncos game?
I am taking the Chargers. They looked incredible week 1.
Yeah.
And thankfully for me, they are getting the Panthers, who looked atrocious in week 1. So give me the Panthers. Give me the Chargers with all the points in the world versus the Panthers.
I think it could be one of those years where just whoever the Panthers are playing, you take them and the Giants.
Oh.
I'm going to take Tampa Bay here. Tampa Bay is getting a touchdown. They're getting 7 points. In Detroit, tough game, but man, Tampa Bay looked really good. Baker Mayfield looked excellent.
He's the guy.
Excellent in week 1. So I'm going to go that route for this one because my first one, if you remember last week, I took the Bengals. That did not go well.
No.
So that's where I'm going to go for week 2. And then for the Broncos, they are going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Welcome back, Russell Wilson. Even though you're on the bench, what do you like for them?
The Steelers can't win by just kicking field goals. I feel like Bo is going to settle down a little bit, and I feel like let's go Broncos again.
Home opener for them. Even though he's not playing, Wilson coming back, I'm with you. I didn't pick the Broncos last week. That's the one that I won. Unfortunately, I wish I lost that. It'd be fine me knowing too. But I'm with you on this one. I think the Broncos will take this one, getting 3 points. The Steelers are actually a favorite going into this one. So that's what we got. But other than that, you've heard us. We're talking about FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. And this year, we're actually up until September 22nd. There's something a little bit different. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and then they get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. So just visit FanDuel.com right now and download America's #1 sports book. And of course, is FanDuel. All right, so I want to jump back into the Where's the Beef talk, and this is our crew from Subtext. McKinnon 29, one team I'd like the Avs to address this year is the Seattle Kraken. I have some hard feelings towards that franchise since Grubauer left, right or wrong. So yeah, it's been, I don't want to say a rough. You lost to them in the postseason, fine. And in the regular season, you had their number early. I think they've beaten you. I don't know what the last game was between them, but they've held their own against you. I think is the love honeymoon period over with the Seattle Kraken as a whole? I think for the Avalanche it is because they knocked you out of the playoffs. But now we're into year 4, right? Wow, this is year 4 already with the Kraken. So are we? Is that over with? And are they just another one of the other 31 teams, and we're done with them?
Yeah, they did take Burakovsky and Donskoy as well. So and retired Donskoy as a Kraken. So I would like to see them. Same with Tampa Bay, put them away.
Avs fan forever. For individual players, he said Bertuzzi, Tom Wilson, Jamie Benn, Jordan Binnington, and Corey Perry. So not necessarily in that order. I'm also old enough to remember the Wings rivalry. Of course, we're right there with you. So what would you say if our fiercest rivalry? Who would you say is our fiercest rival these days? I feel like it ebbs and flows between Minnesota and St. Louis. I'd be there with them. And honestly, Vegas. I think Vegas is one of your top rivals, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So
There's no love for anything Vegas right now.
yep. Craig says regarding, where is he? Oh, there he goes. He is he the one that, yeah, he went to the game, the Broncos game in Seattle. So he sent some pictures of that. So awesome. He said, regarding other teams, I always want to get back at the team that eliminated the Avs from the playoffs. It especially hurt since it was Matt Duchene who struck the final blow. So that's kind of like what we talked about.
Yeah, why can't he just go away?
I know. And then Vargar said Bennington. That's it. Nothing. He has a big disdain for
that's another team the Avs could honestly put out of existence, like put them in the basement.
They did. Like that playoff round. They haven't been the same since. So maybe knock them down even further if you wanted to. Like that's So I'm all for that.
Send them off like Team Rocket.
All right. So the PWHL, they are year one last year was just cities. Everybody had the same logo. The only thing that was different was like it had a color went along with their city. But there were they were all Utah hockey clubs last year. And with the expectation that this year they would reveal nicknames, and we got them on Monday. And to go through who they are, you have the Boston Fleet, the Minnesota Frost, the Montreal. Is it Victory? Is this Montreal Victory?
I believe there's probably a French pronunciation that
I never took French, so sorry, but it's spelled in like a French way, but I think it's just Victory. The New York Sirens, the Ottawa Charge, and the Toronto, and I think this is another friend. Is this Scepters?
Yeah, Scepters.
Okay, Scepters. But that one is also spelled Frenchly, I guess. If you want to say. And honestly, man, like I think every one of these is a home run. I don't dislike any of these. I think the color schemes are great. I think the logos are great. I think the names are great. I don't dislike any of them. I don't hate any of them. They're great.
Whoever did the logos and the names and the colors and everything, Utah, call them now. This was perfect. Perfect. Like to go 6 for 6, it's not one that is weaker than the rest. All of them were incredible. I loved every one of these.
Yeah, you see like the Boston one, and the very first thing I thought of when I saw the Boston one is, man, you just turn that 90 degrees and that's the Hartford Whalers logo.
You betcha.
So you definitely like that one. The Minnesota Frost one is fine. It's just an F that looks like something from the Tampa Bay lightning bolt type of thing. It's maybe my least favorite one, but I don't hate it. The Montreal Victory one is awesome.
Oh,
I think it just has a really cool logo and with
like an Art Deco look to it.
Yeah, and in most of it's red, but the only part that's blue forms an M for Montreal, which is great. The New York Sirens one I like. It's a little weird with the lines in the New York part because you can't really make that out and what that is. It just looks like the one on the bottom right is just turned on its side for some reason. But if you go to their Twitter page, they show you like the making of the logo, and that Sirens isn't there, and you can see how the Y forms. But when they put the Sirens in there, the Y kind of loses itself a little bit. So it doesn't break it for me, but I really like that one. The Ottawa one I think is cool. It's kind of reminds me of something like from Tron.
Yeah.
And the Toronto one is that one's kind of just like a classic, like old to me. That's like the more old school one. But I like it. I like that one as well. It's just the T and the S. So that's cool.
Yeah. If you go to their websites, every team explains the logo and the creation, and it makes you appreciate them even more. Like there's a lot of thought behind this, and they knocked it out of the park with this one.
So do we have to pick a team here, sir? Or are we? Because we didn't really honestly, it really took me out of the PWHL that they didn't have nicknames for some reason. And I just feel like it's more of a league now than that they have this. They have their own identities now. So do we have to pick a team here?
I would love to. Everybody, if you've listened to the show for a long time, you know I was a huge supporter of the PHF in its early days. So I'm definitely picking a team, and I'm curious. I would like you to pick first
Yeah.
because
Okay.
I'm not going to take the same team as you.
I mean, I always lean towards New York, just born and raised there in New York. It's weird. Like I don't have any favorite team. Maybe the Yankees. I do root for the Yankees, believe it or not. But um, none of my favorite teams are in New York. But whenever something like this happens, I kind of like will gravitate to them. Um, and I feel like I kind of have to right now. I can't go Boston just because Boston teams annoy me. I can't go Minnesota. Montreal, I was thinking about that. I think it would either be Montreal or New York. But I think I have to go with the New York team here and go with the Sirens.
And see, that would have been my number one pick, and I knew
Really?
you were going to go that way.
Okay.
So Boston Fleet, baby.
Oh, now we're at odds. Oh my God, you're doing that to me.
Well, it's
Ugh.
because back in the PHF days, I was a Connecticut Whale fan.
Yeah, that's
Love the
true. Yeah.
colors, and it was a throwback to the Hartford Whalers. This is kind of continuing in that same line. If you
Yeah.
turn that logo sideways, it's a Whalers throwback. Boston Fleet,
Okay.
you got it. And I
Oh
love
man,
the
sure
colors.
enough.
Love the
Yeah,
colors.
they're cool colors. They are cool. So, let's get our last break in. And would they come to Colorado? And if they did, what would their nickname be? And then we'll get to James Earl Jones right after this. All right, so the PWHL back in action eventually with not new teams, but teams with official logos, colors, and nicknames. And yeah, we are a fan of all of them. If this league does well and is able to expand, is Colorado a place they go to? Well, I don't see why not.
I see if this gets off the ground and really gets going, like they have their partnership with ESPN, like they're really doing well for themselves so far, getting off the ground. And I would really like to see every NHL city get an affiliate PWHL team. Like all the establishing 6 teams in the league now is an existing NHL city. So I would love the Avalanche to have a partner in the PWHL and maybe share arena time or practice arena time or just like to have that camaraderie. But I would like to see Denver get a team eventually.
I'd love it. And you look at the 6 teams here, and they're all cold weather teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're all northern teams. So if they expand or they want to get their footprint like somewhere south, that could be something that they want to do. But when you're expanding, you're going big markets. So you're in New York, you're in Boston, you're in Toronto, you're in Montreal, you're in Minnesota, which is a huge hockey town, and Ottawa. So those are big either hockey markets or just sports markets.
Yeah.
You're not in Chicago, you're not in Los Angeles. So that's probably where they go next, would be my guess, is to get the major markets. And then you start, if you can keep expanding, doing things like that. That might be where you get something like Colorado or something or Michigan or like Detroit or something like that. You know what I mean? So, or even Philly. And then you start filling in like those blanks. But if they were to go to Colorado, do you have a nickname that you would like the PWHL Colorado what to be?
I have 2. Because you have Colorado Avalanche, you would have to go Denver. And I would go either Denver Peak or Denver Ski.
I was looking up like skiing. I don't ski, but I was looking up like terms for skiing, and nothing was striking my fancy. But just ski would be great.
No, it's like you could see it almost like in like an exaggerated like font, like the Canucks, like that blade font, like the Denver Ski, like that's just a cool vibe, and just like kind of take like the Rapids colors almost. I think it would be cool.
Okay, Peaks would be cool too, man. I like that. There was 3 that I put down. One is just if you are going to expand and you're getting a team, announce it immediately and steal the Yeti. Just be the Yeti. And then I know, the Utah Hockey Club could still take it if they wanted to, but then you even have more rights to it where you were like, hey, first it was the Colorado Avalanche, the logo and the patch. And then our women's team took it, and now you're taking it. So, there's 2 teams in Colorado that had it before you. It's just be a kind of twisting the knife type of thing.
Like that.
I've said this before. I've always liked like just odd names, and you get some really odd names in minor league hockey teams and stuff like that. And I've always liked just like Denver's associated with the altitude and the 5280. I think that's just a cool name.
Yeah.
Just a number. What you don't get a number in a team nickname. So the Denver 5280 would be awesome. And then the last one that I have is again with just like some weirdness in hockey names. The one that I love is the Ghost Pirates.
Oh,
Like what is a Ghost Pirate? I don't except from Lord of the Rings. Other than that, like it's just that logo, that color scheme, that everything about that is awesome. And I can say that now that they're not a part of the Vegas Golden Knights anymore. But so something like that, and again, associated with the cold, and a lot of people don't like the name Avalanche because it's like a natural disaster that takes the lives of people. Same thing with like the hurricanes and everything like that. But the Frostbite would be an awesome name.
Ooh.
And think of like the logos you could do with that. You could have like a Jerry Garcia like missing finger or something like that.
Hey,
there you go, man.
Got me
like that. But you could just go crazy with that, just being a logo and then a third jersey of the Denver Frostbite. I think that'd be a cool name.
And see, like my dark horse third, I'd say it's time. I know they moved. Let's bring back the Denver Grizzlies.
Ooh, isn't the Grizzlies one that Utah's going for too?
Yeah,
is that in their mix?
The ECHL affiliate of the Avalanche is the Utah Grizzlies out in Utah.
Utah, right? But or I could be wrong in that the Grizzlies were a finalist for them. I don't.
It was a preliminary name, and everybody kept pointing to, "Hey, there's a minor league team here, literally with that name. You can't do that."
It didn't make it that far. Okay,
but I say bring back the Denver Grizzlies. It's a team that a lot of Avalanche fans started with, cut their teeth in hockey with, and I say let's bring it back.
I mean, it wouldn't be bad. So there you go. I'd love to see that. Love to see it. So we support this thing and help it grow, and then maybe eventually can become a team in Colorado or wherever they go. It wouldn't really matter. Just expanding it is proof that it's succeeding. So let's get to that point first. So
yeah, get me out of a Boston Fleet shirt. Get me into something Denver, something like home, baby.
Please, yeah. All right, and we're gonna wrap it up with, of course, the news of James Earl Jones. And if you're an everydayer listening to this for as long as we've been doing it, we're Star Wars guys. And if you're watching on YouTube, obviously what we're wearing, we didn't even coordinate this. Nope. I knew you were gonna wear a Star Wars shirt. You knew I was probably gonna wear something Star Wars, and we are. And the fact that James Earl Jones has passed away, it's like, what was he, 93?
Yeah,
93 years old. But you just feel like guys like him just like will be immortal, and essentially they are. Like, he'll live forever. So it's sad when someone like him like passes away. But what he left is just a laundry list of greatness that will be tough to match. And what he gave, not just the Star Wars community, just movie buffs in general, just the voice, the acting, just everything about him was just, I want to hang out with that guy. And it's sad to see that he passed, but 93, can't complain about that. Good life.
I mean, it's the voice of Vader. It's the voice of Mufasa, Field of Dreams. And he was in one of my favorite point and click adventure games on the PC, Tex Murphy Under a Killing Moon. It was a noir. It was like a space noir detective game.
Yeah.
It's just that iconic voice, his presence. He was loved by all. And on Monday, on his passing, Mark Hamill, just rest in peace, Dad.
Dude,
destroyed me.
Like so poignant. So just a simple tweet, and when I read it, I was just like, oh, dude, like that's perfection right there. So yeah, man, just and two of the best baseball movies. You mentioned Field of Dreams, and you only had a cameo, but The Sandlot, man, I can watch The Sandlot over and over and over again, and it never gets old for me. And he had a small role at the end. I never watched Sandlot 2. I like, I'm not going to get into that. But I heard he was in that. I don't know if he's got a bigger role in that. Doesn't matter. The original Sandlot's where it's at. And even though he was on screen for 5 minutes, like it's just such like a moving scene.
Yeah.
You're just giving that baseball. Like, I don't need it anymore. Like he was blind and he just awesome. It gives me goosebumps every time I watch that movie. It's so good.
He had such a presence, like
Yeah.
such a warm presence that would draw you in, and that voice he would carry it, and you would hang on every word. Like he had his authoritative performances, like his Vader, but then he had like the Sandlot and like especially like Field of Dreams, where he would talk and like a slower cadence, and you're just like hanging on every word. You're just eating
Yeah.
that commands a scene. Like he was extremely like we all appreciate his voice, but I think it's something over the next coming weeks we're really going to dive deep and really appreciate for what it was.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys where when they take a role and you see like a trailer or something and like, oh, James Earl Jones is in it, it makes you interested in it. If you didn't have interest in it and then you find out that he's in it, oh, if he's in it, he must be in it for a reason.
Yeah.
And he must be like he's going to give it his all, and it's going to be a great movie. He doesn't just, and I love Samuel L. Jackson, but that guy will say yes to anything. He'll be in every single movie. But you just feel like James Earl Jones was maybe a little bit more selective. And if he was in a movie, you paid attention. Or if he narrated like a documentary, you wanted to go watch it because you knew it was probably the subject matter was important, and you just wanted to listen to him talk about whatever was on screen. Just everything the guy did was just awesome. That's just unrivaled. And it's the voice. It's the voice and the way he acts. And all the way back, one of my favorite movies is Dr. Strangelove.
Oh
And
yeah.
I didn't know that was his first movie role until a couple years ago. I didn't know that.
Wow.
It was like he did like television and stuff like that. But his first movie role was Dr. Strangelove, which is an all-time classic, one of my favorite movies. And he had a minor role in it, but it was, again, even in that small role, was so impactful.
Yeah, and in that Tex Murphy game, like it was just a goofy game, but he acted like it was a Star Wars movie. Like it was so commanding. Like he appreciated every role and gave it such respect and reverence. Just a true class act.
Awesome. And we'll have his stuff to watch forever. So he may be gone, but definitely won't ever be forgotten. So thank you, James Earl Jones, for the 90 plus years that you were here and everything that you gave, because I'll never get old of it. And I'll never get sick of it. So, all right, that is going to wrap it up for today, everybody. So thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. We will be back on Friday with anything that is breaking in the Avalanche world. We'll be sure to bring it to you. So that'll be it. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast, and we'll see you guys later.